everybody. Welcome back to CV Freaks podcast. I'm your host, Eden Gray, and I'm very excited to welcome my special guest today, BRiES Simon, aka BRiES, over in Belgium. Hello,
Yes.
Simon. Hey,
Hey, Chelsea. Thanks for having me. It's an honor, really.
it's great to have you. I guess maybe I've been looking at your videos for a while, but I really enjoyed your video of the Uranolog Cycle 5.
Okay.
How
Yeah.
you got really deep into the modulations in there. And then I just asked you to be a guest because you don't go to Super Booth, which I found to be kind of surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. I avoid spaces with a lot of noises. I don't handle those very well. And it's even though I live in Europe, it's still quite a travel to go there. Quite the expense also. So maybe someday I dream of going there one day. But whenever I see videos of the event afterwards, even just by watching the videos, I'm always overwhelmed by all the noises. Yeah, it's I enjoy having control over what makes sound and what doesn't.
Oh yeah, well, I think you would love it, especially out in the park, like the woods area, because there's a lot
Yeah,
of peace out there, a lot of birds and
yeah,
breeze,
yeah,
breeze like your name, the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
wind and the trees, and it's just beautiful. So, you could always just avoid the hall and try not to go
yeah.
into the,
Well,
yeah.
what's the use of going to Super Booth then, right?
Well,
If you
no,
just
I mean, you could just stay out of the hall, I think,
yeah,
because
and
that's the craziest.
just invite everyone. Hey, like put little arrows in the ground, like BRiES, like for everyone who wants to find me. Oh, is he here? Yes, but he's out in the woods. Follow the arrows.
So you live in Belgium. Do you know
Yes.
Joran? You know him personally because you both live in Belgium, or?
Well, it's kind of well, it's not a funny story, but that's what they say. Um, when I first contacted him, um, I think it was 2019. Um, about doing possible. No, the first time I contacted him was actually because I saw in the back of the booklets of the modules there was always there were names in it, people from the testing team, and I knew a few of them when I was still doing like gigs and stuff. So I thought, hey, I want to be on that team as well to test out modules. But he declined. He said we have people enough. We don't. You're not looking for more people, which is completely okay. But I had his Generate 3 module, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with that module because I wasn't using my modular quite as much at that particular time. Um, but I decided, hey, let's make a thorough video about this module before I sell it, or well, before I decide what to do with it. So I made a really long, in-depth video of it, and I sent him the video, and he was amazed by it. He liked it very much, and he linked it on his website, which blew me away. I was like, "Wow, this is awesome!" Um, and it was only then that I realized that he lived um, 10 kilometers from where I was living,
Oh
which
wow.
is a complete coincidence. So, well, he invited me over to just have a chat, and well, we started working together a lot more. But it was really just convenient that he was right around the corner. So whenever I ended up on the test team, I kind of worked my way on there um, like that. Um, so whenever there was a new prototype ready, I could just pick it up He didn't have to pack a box. So
Yes.
yeah,
So how did you like the crazy one, the quadrature the
Collide 4.
Collide 4, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I've been underusing it as a paint filter, but it's the best paint filter ever. I like it very much, the module. Um, but well, I say I underuse it, but it's such a nice collection of tools in just one module. I've used it as a simple VCA or as a ring modulator, but most of the times I just use it as an awesome paint filter. If you crank the gain, you have this nice saturation at the start of your ping, which in some patches or tracks really works to like cut through the mix, they say. Um, yeah, I really like Collide 4. It has a really distinctive sound, I think. There's no other filter inside any module that sounds anything like it. And especially if you start using the outputs like in stereo, yeah, that's just awesome. You can make awesome like music box sounding eerie melodies just with the one module and a sequencer. I like it very much. It's another job well done by Johan, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
So where can we hear some of your music? I'm really interested to listen to some.
Well, most of my work is just on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So on my channel, BRiES, um, I
So there's
usually just
what
yeah.
about like an album or anything?
Yeah, I release every once in a while I release an album, but usually the tracks that are released on the albums can be found on YouTube somewhere already. Um, they're just reworked versions or well, finished mixed versions of the stuff that I just do with my rec. I mean, I cannot make a patch without recording it and putting it online. Maybe it's because I seek validation a little bit too much, as we all do a little bit late the last years. But I realize this. I cannot work on my modular and not record it. I always record what I do. And of course, every time I make a patch, it's a banger. Um, no, I'm just kidding. But I always record it, and it's always those recordings that end up on the albums, and those albums get like released on Bandcamp. My Bandcamp is just breeze.bandcamp.com. I just released an album, by the way. It's a modular dub album. It's just 4 tracks, so it's more a mini album, but I'm very pleased with how that turned out.
Oh, good. I'll have to have a listen to that. I'm a huge dub fan too.
Yes, me too. It took me years uh, to make a dub album. I always wanted to make dub when I was still doing like production in Ableton and just with hardware polysynths and like just tracking the synths and arranging everything inside the box. I always wanted to make dub, but I kind of well, I wasn't very good at it. Um, but the modular makes everything easier, I think.
Yeah, it makes life easier, I think. Do you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
do you want to walk us through your system or your studio or anything like that?
Oh, well, I haven't anything turned on, but I can if I turn my camera a little bit here, I can just show you a
Oh,
part
okay.
of it.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Um, uh, I'm zoomed out to the maximum. But well, my main workflow, maybe that's interesting to talk about. I can turn it on if I have to, but for now I'll leave it off. So that's my main my main system. As you can see, it's a case that I made myself. I'm very proud of that. It turned out great. I think the wood was about maybe 30 euros. That's probably something like $35 nowadays. And I used two MDLR power boards, which both give me 4 amps. So there's 8 amps of power in this monster, which is ample. It's 126 HP. That's a size that I end up really liking. At one point, I bought a second-hand case from someone with one of the MDLR power boards in it, actually. And that case was 126 wide and 3 rows, so 9U high. And I figured that was a nice ratio to put on camera. It was not nice to fit everything on screen, and you could still kind of make out what the modules were. Well, I think the interesting thing about my setup here is how I go from the rack into the computer. Well, because I do a lot of YouTube, that's an important part of my setup. So I have a sound card with, well, I'm using 6 inputs, so 3 stereo inputs. And I don't use a modular mixer. I've tried several, I still have quite a few of them, but well, they always, well, I need more channels than 6 or 8, and most mixers in modular are restricted or limited to that. And well, once you start installing 2 mixers, you lose a lot of flexibility, actually, because then you have to start chaining them, and the mute function doesn't work properly anymore because, well, you have 2 separate mixers, stuff like that. The aux sends don't make sense anymore, stuff like that. Make me kind of dislike most Eurorack solutions for mixing, although there are plenty of nice ones out there for sure. But once you start mixing like 12 voices, well, you just have a logistical problem. But what I do is I have these little modules that are just output modules. Like there's a jack on the front, and there's actually a jack on the back as well. So I chain through the cords. That's what's happening, and I've routed them all into my Pride and Glory. I have this huge Allen and Heath GL 2200 mixer, which has 6 bus outputs, 6 group outputs, so 3 stereo. So that makes sense. And I use that combination to run usually my drums separately on a stereo track, my main synths separately on a stereo track, sometimes my effects separately, or the bass. I mean, there's choices to be made always. And I use, since I'm using this mixer, which sounds awesome, by the way, it has these large transformators in it. Well, that's what I have been told, that there's large pieces of copper inside the channel strips, inside the inputs, which kind of inflict a character on the sound. And well, when I was thinking about transitioning to this mixer, I did some A/B testing, and indeed this one sounded better. I can't put my finger on it, why or what, but it definitely sounded better. But well, this thing has a few cents and a few returns, so I'm using outboard 19-inch rack effects, which are honestly a lot cheaper than decent Eurorack effects. So I have an Leesy's Quadraverb for reverbs, and it's just a simple lexicon for delays. But well, my system it's most of all mostly it's just the Joranalog stuff. Can I zoom in here a little bit? I'm brushing against my screen here. I don't know if you can see it, but well, there's 2 rows of your analog gear here, which is awesome. And then I have almost a full row of Schlappi, which I watched the interview you did with him. It was a nice watch, by the way.
Oh yeah, Schlappi is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say the same thing. Schlappi is definitely amazing. Um, I had a talk about his stuff. We were like comparing like your analog to Schlappi, which is maybe just a silly thing to do.
Yeah.
But we decided that there's a sort of a utilitarianism to your analog modules. They're very precise. They're very well made. Everything is. Well, I'm just trying to straighten my camera here. The analog modules are, well, they're just. I always think that Johan has thought about everything, like everything you can think of. Hey, maybe I should add this or I should have that feature. They are all there, and they work tremendously. And Schlappi is kind of the same, but just with a nice, cool logo on it and tons of character. Where your analog is a little bit more like sciencey and precise and clean, um, or clinical maybe. The Schlappi adds a little bit of character and a little bit of grittiness, like literally and figuratively.
Yeah, kind of like that punk edge. And
Yes, that's
and
a nice way to describe it. Yes.
and
Yeah.
if you've heard his album, the album that he had after I interviewed him last time, that was a really good album. Um,
I have listened, well, I have heard a few of his tracks, but I don't think I ever listened to complete album, which is something I should definitely do.
I think it was called Larval Beak. Yeah,
Yeah, I
or
heard a
maybe
few tracks of that. Very noisy, no?
yeah. And then so you said clinical, and I always refer to the Dope stuff as being very clinical. And
Yes, yeah,
yeah, and so he Jorn describes it as what lab grade. That's what he.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there's just, I mean, but it's also gritty too. You can hear some craziness in there, but I'm
Yeah, for
just
sure. You can bring out the crazy in your analog modules. Um, but even just the face plates, they don't scream punk. They scream, yeah, like
clean. Yeah.
yeah, clinical, methodical, which is probably a little bit how Johan's personality is. I don't know him that well because, well, you asked that in your first question. I didn't really answer it. I know him from talking about synths with him, and he comes across as very well. He knows a lot. He knows his stuff. He um, he works on these giant breadboards, which are literally mounted on like cutting boards.
Oh,
And in Dutch language, a cutting board could also be called literally a breadboard,
oh
because
yeah.
we cut bread on it, a
Uh-huh.
broodplank, which
Yeah.
is pretty funny. And I mean, it's amazing. It's like a board full of wires, and he knows exactly what is going on because at some point I was there and something wasn't working, and he was just fiddling with the cables, and I got it. I mean,
Oh
it's
wow.
it's thousands and thousands of small connections. He's somewhat of a genius, the Joran. Yes.
Super. Yeah. Micro workings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have the oscilloscope there too. Is that just for your own kind of analyses?
That
Yeah.
one,
Yeah. It's just
is it still on screen? Yes. Well, I got it from a friend, actually, that one. I previously had bought this sine wave generator um, from Philips, uh, because it's well, I mean, we have all watched too many Heinbach videos, I think, and every time he pops up, uh, I'm sure everyone wants to acquire lab gear, and
yeah.
I'm no different. So in one of my frenzies on the second-hand marketplaces, I found this one for like $50, which was something I couldn't pass up on. And then, well, a friend of mine, he was reorganizing his house. He wasn't making music anymore, and he asked me, "Hey, can you do something with that? I would like this nice piece of equipment to be used instead of just like be a museum piece." But there's a switch that broke, so I have to, well, look out when I turn it on and off so that the switch doesn't, so it doesn't eat the switch. I'm a little bit afraid that it will blow up.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. What do you use for drums? Do you have any like drum machines?
I don't use drum machines. I do everything in the rack. Um, but it's something I've been, um, well, I always want to like buy a drum machine, but I never have. I have used one from a friend. Like it was what's the little one from Arturia? The Drum Brute Impact, I think it was. And it was great. It synced perfectly with the rack gear, but I don't really I just don't really like using drum machines. I um I prefer doing everything in the rack because that way you can make everything interact. I really like making irregular clocks or while using envelopes as clocks and then modulating them. Like I think it's called dialectical patching, I think. So like you patch you use something as a clock, but then you sample your VCO and you use that sample voltage to determine the speed of your clock. So it's
Do you have any dedicated drum modules?
yeah, I use a Crater by WMD, and then I have a few modules by Soundforce. They make awesome little 4 HP drum modules. I have like the module with several firmwares. You can upload several firmwares on it. It has a Lindrum sound set. It has a 606 and a 707 sound set as well. And I think Nicholas expanded on that. So there's even more at the moment. So I use that one because it just gives me easy access to a quick hi-hat, a quick snare. But yeah, to answer your question, I use dedicated drum modules. There's one more um, of Soundforce that I use. It's the Sample Stew. It's a really easy module to upload your own samples on because it has a USB stick, um, well, and USB input that makes it very easy. Um, well, and I like to use the modular drums because I can sequence them with whatever is going on in my patch. I don't have to rely really on syncing to a BPM or anything like that.
Yeah, so what was on the top row?
The top row is all the black modules, so it's just an assortment of black modules. I'm a little bit autistic, so I want ideally I want the rack to be symmetrical and everything is grouped. I mean, I spent ages on modular grid, to organize everything. Everything is grouped by brand and by function, except my top row, that's just the leftover black modules. So the drum modules are all on there because they all turned out to be the black modules. There's a Vino Echo there that doesn't fit anywhere else, which I really, really like, by the way. It's I I went down a rabbit hole about modular delays. I wanted to be able to sync my delay, um, and I wanted it to be stereo. And well, the Vino Echo ticks all the boxes and more. Um, well, and there's Rosa by Jolin is there, which is a 4-channel scanner. There's a few low pass gates, stuff like that. Just assorted modules by several makers.
Okay, who makes the Vino Echo again? So I don't
It's
recognize that.
Venus Instruments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a really nice module.
That's a UK based. That's a newer one.
I'm not sure. Is it?
I think so. I think I just
Yeah.
saw them for the first time at this past super booth. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's possible. I have no idea where they originate from.
Yeah. Do you have any well, let's see, what's your envelope generator in there? Or you have
I
several?
use well, that's one of the top row modules as well. I use Delta V by Cosmotronic, which I really like. It's kind of a mini mats with built-in VCAs. I like it a lot. I use mats as well, but recently I acquired the boundary layer from Schlappy. Um, well, and that's an instant favorite. I mean, what is not to like? Um, yeah, I also have Contour 1 by your analog, of course, but well, since I have only one of those, I use that for other things than envelopes because usually I work in pairs, so I need things at least 2 times. Um, but I always want my envelopes or my function generators to have CV inputs for like especially decay if you start making modular drums, um, because well, a lot of the times I just synthesize my hats and my snares, um, and then it's nice to modulate the length of your envelopes so everything comes alive. And that's the beautiful thing about modular. Well, at least if you patch it like that, it's never stale, it's never boring, it's always changing. So yeah, I use well, a lot of different envelope modules actually.
And so do you still do live performances or you avoid doing live performance as well?
Yes, I avoid doing live performances. I would like, in an ideal world, I would like to be able to perform live every once in a while, but I'm so susceptible to stress that I just avoid thinking about it altogether. Maybe one day, maybe one day. Uh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
would be nice.
Yeah. Until then you do live streaming on your channel and stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
How
Yeah, yeah.
often do you do that?
Well, it's a little bit less nowadays. I had like a nice streak where I did almost well, every day or every 2 days did a live stream. But well, that's usually how I am. I discover something new and then I'm 100% going all the way in, and then I kind of stop. The reason that I have stopped doing it is because it's a holiday, it's vacation, school vacation, and the neighbors' kids tend to make a lot of noise, and then it's hard for me to concentrate on what I'm doing, and then I have to stop. And like stopping midstream is a really weird thing to do. Um, So I'm still trying to figure out what the best timing for doing live streams is. I just want to be sure that it's really nice and calm in the street. Um, but yeah, I really very much like it because there's no editing involved. But you can still create interesting educational content, which is always what I want. Well, what I achieve, well, what I want to achieve, what I strive for. Um, but well, once the stream is finished, you're done. Then you have a nice video that's uploaded on YouTube already. So I like it very much, and I mean the interaction with the chat is something that I value a lot. It's really nice to get like patch ideas and suggestions from people that you start seeing every time that you do a stream. So yeah, I like streaming a lot actually. I would like to do it more.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't think about people making patching tips while you're streaming. That never occurred
Yeah,
to me. Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. Like, hey, maybe you should try that in stereo, and then I'm like, yeah, great idea.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, I have two mixer modules and I mostly do only in mono, even though I have like a few stereo VCAs and I just always like I have one way that I doing things. That's why I like to have my events and I bring out, a case and somebody will have an idea do something this way, and I never do it that way. So that's why I love the events so much. People
yeah,
give the
yeah,
ideas there to you in person because
yeah, yeah,
working over a video is a little bit hard. It's like a phone
yeah,
call. It's like,
yeah, yeah.
teleporting this room over to that room, and it's just entirely different than being there in person. So,
Hmm.
yeah. But I think that, there's a crossover. I think that yeah, you'll probably make it back out. I mean,
One day,
yeah.
but you should try doing things in stereo. I think it's so nice to hear a patch change when you plug in the second channel for the stereo set. It's like, oh yes, this is it. Modular started being a lot more fun when I bought my first stereo mixer. Uh, it's the first thing I did, trying to patch things up in stereo. Um, well, stereo is life
Yeah. I guess I could do it through the stereo VCA and then just go out through there,
for sure.
right?
Mhm.
Um, so your approach is kind of like with limitations, which is really cool. Um, you know, kind of not having too much. And I like the size. That seems like plenty to work with. Um, and you can do a lot with that.
Yeah,
So,
it's a nice size system, and I really like it how it is right now. Now, the downside of doing a lot of demonstrations is that I get sent a lot of modules. A lot. Well, it's relative. I don't get sent a huge amount of modules, but sometimes there's like new modules, prototypes coming in, or modules for review, and I have to fit them in somewhere. And then I always have to destroy my perfect setup here, and rip out modules and make room. Um, and the most that's like a first world problem completely. The worst thing that can happen is that I really like the module that I have to demo because then I have to keep it in the rack, but
mhm.
there's no room anymore. Like this is my rack, I like it, and then there's like new modules, and I I almost don't want to like them. So I can just do a demo, and well, I say don't like them. Some modules are just good at what they do, but for example, if I have to demonstrate another function generator, I have plenty. So it has to be a very, very interesting take on the function generator to blow me away and to want to keep it in my system, which doesn't mean it's not a good module, but well, I have a few already. So it's a little bit like that. Sometimes a module does blow me away, and then it's always, even with this size of a rack, it's always hard finding room. Uh, well, also because, like I said, I want to keep the colors separated, so that's not always easy. And I also want to keep all the like the raw analog stuff. I kind of have to keep in. Um, because when I receive a new module, like a new prototype, I need to be able to demonstrate that. Well, that's my approach. I need to be able to demonstrate it with other modules from the same range, from the same brand. Same goes for Slappy. Um, I'm not going to demonstrate like the boundary layer, the new triple function generator with another VCO. Of course, I'm going to use three body to demonstrate it with. So it kind of makes sense to keep it in the rack. I use them all the time. Of course, I don't keep modules in the rack that I don't use, but it's always a little bit. I have to think about it a lot. Where do I make room? What do I keep in? But it is a really really nice system size. Before I made this orange monster, I made kind of a Frankenstein rack with different cases bolted on top of each other, and I made it 7 rows high. Now it's only 6, and that was too much. That one extra row was made it a little bit too overwhelming, and that didn't really work for me. The six rows makes perfect sense.
Yeah, just enough, right?
Yes,
It would be too much for a beginner, but I think that,
yes,
yeah, mine is all
yeah,
disjointed, so
yeah, yeah.
I'm
I
very
I I don't
disorganized.
like it. I don't like it when everything is in separate cases. I want it to be like one. Well, I prefer it to be like one piece, one machine. Um, that's one of the reasons that I don't like using like external gear like drum machines. Um, because it's just I find Eurorack and modular in general. It's really what's the correct term? Um, it's a weird thing to say maybe, but it doesn't take up a lot of space, in my opinion. You can mount it vertically. I mean, there's no synth in the world that you can uh, comfortably uh, mount vertically, except modular synths. So it doesn't take up a lot of desk space, and it's all inside the rack. Everything is there. The way I have it hooked up, the wires go from the back, so you don't see any wires. Once you remove all the patch cords, it makes sense to my autistic brain very much.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of find your own rhythm, your own way of
Yes.
working with things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's probably different for everybody, but yeah. I like it everything in one box, no cables coming from the back, no patch cords going across the desk. No,
Hmm. Did you ever use any of the dope for stuff?
I have a clock divider and what's it called here? Sequential switch. And that's all I have. I think, yeah, when I first started my first baby steps into modular, I I ordered. Well, I had it for a while. I had a spring reverb from Doepfer. Um, but I ended up sending it back because I didn't really, well, I didn't really like it. And then after that, I got another spring reverb, and I didn't like it either. So I guess I don't really like spring reverbs. But well, they're nice utilitarian modules. But I think there's beauty in the concept of a full Dubfer system. Uh, I well, it would be nice to like have just one case with just the Dubfer modules. I'm sure you can make awesome things with it, just as awesome as with uh, any other brand modules. But they have this reputation, maybe, or maybe it's more a vibe that it's a little bit boring. But
Mhm.
it's completely not true, of course.
Yeah, it's that every module is, well, there's so many,
Yeah,
and all their functions are more separate than having them all do multiple things.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I like that to have like one module per function or one function per module. I like that a lot, actually. I do have modules that I like really much, like Nibbler from Schlappy, that can do a lot of things, but in essence, it's just a shift register with a binary counter. You can just utilize it as a plethora of things. Um, Personally, I don't like modules like Ghost by Endorphin and Andrew Wong. Andrew Wong, yes, I think that's how it's pronounced. I don't like modules like that because it's just so many different functions, so many different things. It's kind of, it doesn't have an identity. Well, that's how I feel about it. So I like the dub for stuff that it has like one function per module. I don't think there's, for example, a lot of manufacturers that make modules that do simple PLL. And I know Dupfer has like a dedicated PLL module. When I started doing research about PLL circuits, um, I've written a user guide for Compare 2 Bioanalog, and I started researching, hey, what can a comparator be used for? One of the things that I discovered was a PLL. So then I started researching PLLs, and that's how I came across the Dupfer PLL. And there's not a lot of brands that do that kind of thing. So,
well,
well,
you've passed me
that's
up there because I don't know what a PLL is.
uh, a PLL is a phase locked loop. Uh,
Oh,
it's
right. Oh,
it's
okay. Yeah. Loop.
it's well, in practice, it's an interesting way to sync two VCOs in a way that usually is not very perfect. Um, and that's usually what I like, things that start falling apart, breaking apart ever so slightly. And PLLs do just that. Uh, if you patch them badly
Mhm.
on purpose, um, yeah, I like PLLs. On the There's a PLL on the sine wave generator that I have there from Philips, like the bulky one. It has a sync input, but actually it's a PLL. And I think those circuits used to be used a lot more than nowadays for just syncing duties. But the PLL on that machine is it's just crazy. You can send in any frequency and it tracks perfectly, which is kind of hard to do if you patch it up yourself.
Yeah, on the Weston Precision Audio, I don't know if you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
um, the phase animated oscillator has a button that you can lock in the phase. And then when you turn off the button, it goes back to phasing. So
Hmm.
I guess that's similar, but yeah.
Yeah, it's usually between a phase lock loop is usually between two oscillators. Like you have one master and then a slave, just like sync. It's just a different way of syncing two VCOs. You can even use it to sync a VCO to like a voice or a trumpet or whatever. Um, it's always going to be very imprecise, but well, if you don't care about it being a little bit noisy, you can really sync weird stuff. Well, you can sync your VCOs to really weird stuff. Somewhere on my Instagram, I have a video of like an Indian woman singing some kind of raga, I think, um, something traditional. And I patched up a phase locked loop with my system and I tracked the VCOs to her singing, which is completely well,
Wow.
it's not quantized. It's completely there's a lot of bands in the Indian traditional way of singing, um, and I was amazed that it worked. So yeah, phase locked loops. Hey everyone, uh, do some research about phase locked loops. They're awesome. Also, use more sync.
And I was going to ask you about what are you using as a sampler?
I don't use a sampler. Well, I have a sampler. Um, well, I have to look because I always forget. It's a phonogene.
Oh,
So sometimes I do a little bit of sampling on the phonogene.
well,
This ties in. Yeah.
how'd you get the vocal into to track?
Yeah. I just use an output of my sound card through an interface to get it up to Eurorack levels. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
Yeah, just straight from the computer. I have used a sampler. I think I had what's it called? Like the 1010 music. I don't think I get, is that right?
Bitbox. Yeah,
Um,
that's it. Yeah.
yeah, the Bitbox. I had one of those and that was great, but I sold it because it did too much. And it felt a little bit like working in Ableton, but then inside the Eurorack. And then, well, I prefer just working in Ableton or working in Eurorack and not like this weird crossover. Um, but I got the phonogene because I want to do a little bit of sampling sometimes. Um, and again, the morphogene for my taste, it does way too much. There's way too many things it can do. And I think there's like hidden menus or multifunction stuff. The phonogene can do only one thing and it does it very bad. But I mean, it's a very clicky, poppy, uh, it has a lot of pops and clicks. So it's kind of a rubbish sampler, but I like it because it can do only that. So that's my sampler.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was using the AS8 for a little bit, and I found it to be really confusing um, to try to get the audio back, like a sample from the audio of a recording of, my son's voice, send it back in to filter it. And I got
Hmm.
it to work once successfully, but then I was just like, this is so confusing. Yeah.
Yeah. If stuff is too confusing, I tend to lose interest really quickly. It's interesting when things are very direct, very easy to understand, and that's different for everyone,
Hmm.
of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a Beats as well that I use as a reverb most of the time, but you could consider that kind of a sampler as well. And the Vino Echo does looping as well, so maybe that's a sampler too. Hey, that's Eurorack for you. Everything can do several things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I really like that.
But it's nice also to have like everything having its set function. Um, using the Bastel Grandpa, and it's a hard sampler to use. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to get a more normal sampler just to be able to send a sample through and then, change it
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
without it being like the button you have to push and all. Yeah, it's kind of hard, but that's fun. That's one of the fun parts is the challenge. Except for when I'm trying to show somebody that this is what it does, but let me get right back to that point where it does what I want it to do right now.
Yeah,
And it takes me like 2, 3 minutes, and they're just like, "What is she doing?" Like,
yeah, yeah.
so.
Yeah, that's a bad feeling if you get the feeling that you don't know what you're doing, especially
Well,
when you're showing it to someone.
yeah.
That's a bad feeling. Yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, I say, well, it just takes a minute. Just hold on a minute,
yeah, yeah. If stuff like that happens, my brain just stops.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, it's just going to take 1 minute, but in my brain, it's nothing is happening. It's just a complete brain freeze,
yeah.
panic.
It's
Yeah,
very
luckily,
challenging. It is
yeah.
challenging to try to explain some of these things. I mean, a lot of them actually. It's very challenging to explain, but
And do you mean Eurorack in general or on music gear or
Eurorack
yeah?
particularly, yeah. But that's part of the fun of it. That's why.
Well, it's kind of my business to explain hard things in an easy way. Um,
That's good.
I would want to say I make a living out of it, which isn't true. I don't make a living from it, but it's what I do a lot. Spend a lot of time explaining things. And that's why people usually come back to my videos because I spent quite some time explaining everything that needs to be explained. Um, but so I heard. I heard that it's not easy, but I I find it a little less hard than most people, I guess.
Yeah. Well, what year did you start again? 2018, 2019?
Late 2019 was my first were my first steps into modular. So but like I said, I usually when something interests me, I dive in head first, full on rabbit hole, completely ADHD, hyper focus, whatever ism you want to call that. But yeah, and usually usually I lose interest in things, but modular was yeah. I have what's called. I have the virus. It got me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I love trying to understand as much as I can, and I really want to try to get my head to that point where I can understand a breadboard, to try to
yeah.
design something. Are
Wow.
you,
Yes.
I mean, that's the ultimate goal, of course.
Hmm.
But some of us as artists are just, we want to create, we want, this freedom to make our music or our
Yeah. Yeah.
sounds and then, but then there's the technical side that says, but yeah, but I want to also do that, create that so I can, share this idea.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like my sequencer is the simple 8-step Pittsburgh sequencer. That's the most simplest, that's the one I've used for the longest.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have the Eloquencer, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But just to think about a sequencer that would be easy to have a switch to tune each step and then to go between those steps to detune it as well.
Mm.
Because I really like the whole thing about the Pittsburgh that you can't tune it that well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
makes a lot of really strange sequences that you couldn't come up with if it
Yeah. Yeah.
were really precise. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so what are you using for your sequencer? Did you tell me already? Or?
I haven't talked about sequences. No, I don't have a large, like you said, eloquencer. That's kind of a sequencer that can do a lot, if I remember correctly. I used to have a NerdSec, but I sold it once again because it can do too much. I
Mhm.
got the feeling I was only using like 10% of its power. And well, that kind of annoyed me for some reason. And I probably needed money, so I sold it. But I use simple 8-step sequencers. I have a Mosqua 2 by Chaos Devices that I end up using all the time. I have a step 8 by Analog that I have to run through a quantizer for it to make sense. Otherwise, it's like the Pittsburgh. It's going to be uh, analog voltages that aren't tuned. And then I have a mimetic digitalis by noise engineering that I like to use for sequencing several voices at one time. So for making chords, um, it's well, it. We talked about this a few hours ago in on my Discord. People don't think about mimetic digitalis as a sequencer for chords, and it's one of the easiest ways that I know of to make chords in Eurorack without having to rely on like dedicated chord generators or um, triple channel quantizers or whatever. Mimetic digitalis is just a four channel sequencer that you can tune in semitones or just in I don't know, in smaller steps. So you can, if you really want, can do microtonal stuff with it. Um, so I like to use that as well. And well, I tend to make stuff that's moving. When I work with melodies, everything is always moving and getting transposed. But I use a lot of sample and hold for that. I misuse a lot of clock dividers, and like Nibbler is an interesting source for stepped random voltages to transpose stuff or even as sequences. Um, I use a lot of function generators to like end of cycle outputs, stuff like that, to transpose stuff. That's what I talked about in the beginning. I like to always use feedback between modules, not really audio rate feedback like you usually think of when speaking about feedback, but really, I think that's called dialectical patching, where you patch things back to each other, so everything is kind of interacting with each other. So when I make like the tracks that I post on in my albums on Bandcamp, um, all of them have a heavy uh, well, what I want to say is there's always little things that I add afterwards. Well, not always, but usually. But like 99% is just a jam from the rack. And there's a lot of melody in there, but none of it is intentional. I patch up the machine and then it just does its thing. Of course, you always make the restrictions. You program the limitations yourself, but then it just goes off. And I use a lot of like these random events that I couldn't have planned because it's all an interaction um, of the complete system. That's what I like very much about modular. You can like influence it a little bit. You can try to, it's like, maybe it's like being a shepherd. You can try to keep the group together, but there's always going to be things that happen that you don't, that you cannot predict. And that's always awesome because usually that's more interesting than what would happen otherwise. I mean, I can start tweaking my filters For example, for a bass and a lead, I have two hands, so I can tweak both filters. Um, but it's never going to be that interesting as patching up like a chaotic oscillator to the CV inputs and just set it to really slow oscillations, and then you get these relations between the frequencies that you probably wouldn't think of. And if you do it enough, you learn what the ranges are um, that you can use to your advantage. Yeah, I don't know what my point was. I'm going off on a tangent, but I really, I really, really love it about modular that you can do all these crazy things while not having to decide too much. Let the machine do the thinking.
Yeah, and it does.
Yes.
Yeah, that was great. That gave me some ideas just listening to the tangents. Very good.